Hey, welcome to another exciting adventure of On the Bench. I got something kind of cool today. My buddy just dropped off this bass guitar, and it's a Fender, and it was made in Japan. I don't know much about these, so let's take a look at it. I do know Fender was bought by CBS in 1965 for around $13 million and sold some 20 years later for about $12.5 million. Oh boy, this is nice. They sold it to a bunch of Fender execs and employees, and what they got were the trademarks and all the guitar parts, but none of the machinery in the factory. So Fender had to build themselves a new factory, and I believe that they went to the Fujijin plant. According to the serial number, this is probably an 86 or an 87. And it may have very well been built with some parts that came from the USA. Got a little ding on her here. You can see that it's been sitting in the closet for quite a while. So yeah, my buddy hadn't plugged it in, he hadn't done anything with it really. He just wanted to set up, wanted me to look it over. You can easily see that the frets are going to need a polish job. So we're going to go through this guitar together, and I'll show you the kind of things we're doing and how I'm going to go about doing it. And if this is something you're interested in, please stick around. So let's get at it. Well, one thing I can see is there is no way to adjust it at the top. You adjust it down here like you would in older style ones. I look down the neck, it looks pretty straight. I'd like to see whether or not the truss rod even still works, but we'll figure that out in a second. First thing I want to do is see if these pickups work. I'm just checking for continuity. They seem to work. Hey, the pots aren't scratchy. Oh, that's kind of scratchy there though. Yeah, I'm going to check for the grounding. And we'll clean everything also. Just kind of checking it for some buzzy frets. The action really seems to be pretty good on it. The neck seems to be fairly level. I think what we're going to have to do basically is take the strings off this thing and clean all the frets. The frets are terrible. We'll oil the fretboard down, and then we'll kind of clean some of this stuff up a little bit. You can see that these really have some tarnish to them. If it was me, I'd leave it that way. I'll talk to him and see what he wants to do. So here's what I usually do. I'm going to start up here and I'm going to clean all this. I'll usually, especially something this old, I'm going to put a drop, just a little bit of Vaseline right here, and then I'm going to turn all these around. That way they'll get a little bit of lubricant. I normally don't like cleaning people's guitars, but this guy's a really good friend of mine, and he asked me if I'd clean it while I did the setup. So we're going to use some spit and some elbow grease. Let's get at it. So I think you can see already the difference where I'm going to get some of this crud off with some WD-40. But apparently somebody has replaced these because these aren't even the right size. So I don't know what happened with that. I'm not going to mess with it because it's in there. When I get down to these two, you can see that they are very loose. You can see that. And what I'll do is, I mean, you really don't want to be tightening this up a whole lot. That's probably not where it's loose at. It's probably loose from these nuts or these bolts right here. Okay, I've got this one tightened up, but I want you to see that they just go round and round in here. I think they're snug enough. They're going to hold it. But one thing you can do is take these out and put just a little bit of a toothpick in there and a dab of glue, and then put that screw back in. I don't think we're going to have to do that here. I think we can just tighten these up, get them down pretty snug, and I think we can move on to the next thing. I tell you, I spend most of my time on these guitars turning screws, and I think that's okay. Okay, I've tightened all these up now. They're all tight enough. That's not uncommon for that. You really don't want to tighten these things here. I mean, if they're coming out, yeah, you need to just snug them up. And that solves the mystery of why these screws are here, is because these were getting loose and someone decided they just start replacing them, and I guess they just replaced 2 of them. So yeah, when I'm cleaning it up, a couple things I do want to check. I want to make sure it's tight. I want to make sure these are tight. I don't take my neck off unless there's a reason to. If there's a reason to, then you can take it off. You want to make sure these things here are tight, you know. And again, if these are loose and you just can't keep them tight, you can take them out, take your toothpick and stick it in and break it off a little below the hole, fill it up with some just wood glue and screw it back in. Alright, let's move on. I'm about ready to get around to the front. Really all I want to do here is see if I can get inside of it. I want to check and make sure that that you can actually adjust the neck. And I kind of want to look at the electronics and spray them over real good one time. Everything. Now look at this. Let's figure out where that goes. And I'd imagine it goes on here. We'll take a look at it though. And then we'll spray these. Yeah, so if you're going to adjust the neck on this one, you're taking the neck off. This neck goes all the way in the body. There's no way to get into it, and it looks like it just adjusts with a Phillips, but you'd have to take the neck off, make the adjustment, put the neck back on. And again, if there's nothing wrong with it, I don't find any sense in taking the neck off. And I have no idea to know if you're going to be able to see this or not. Probably not. But this guy right here, most of his wire is off. So we're going to heat up the soldering iron. We're going to get more wire out. That's why I was getting a little bit intermittent with this plug-in. When I first plugged it in, it just didn't want to work really good, and then I turned it and it did. It's because this guy here is not getting good contact. So we're going to go ahead and strip some wire, and I think we got plenty here to do that with. While I am by far not the best solderer in the world, this is now soldered. And you can see, I do a little bit of a sloppy job, but I shake a lot when I go to solder. So here's a pro tip. If you are right-handed and you go to solder and you get to shake when you're soldering, take your soldering iron, put it in your left hand. I'm a little calmer with my left hand than I am my right one. Anyway, let's get this thing back together. Okay, we're about ready to button this back up. I'm going to put a little shot of contact cleaner right in here and then, move the knobs around. Same thing with this. I checked the ground, which goes with this, and I think the ground's okay. The last thing I would do before I button it up is plug it in and make sure that these pickups still work. Oh yeah, because we have been messing around with stuff. Well, that's quiet now. Alright, let's button this thing up, move on. So here's really the last thing I'm going to do today. I'm going to clean these up. Those are pretty green. I don't know that he was upset with the way that it played. Setup is kind of a hard thing to do. I can set it up for how I'd like to play it. I'm not a bass player, but I can set it up that way. Let's go ahead and get this taped up. So, yeah, I get this painter's tape from the Dollar Tree, and it's $1.25. First thing you want to do when you get it is you want to tape off the pickups. Make sure that because I'm just gonna use, go ahead and get it out now. I'm just gonna use some triple-aught steel wool, and that's how I'll clean them up. There's many ways to do it. You can get these little tools here and put over them too. It's just, this is an old fretboard, and it's a very nice fretboard. It appears to be rosewood. And I thought I'd take just an extra step here, you know, to do this for my buddy. So 20-some years ago, I decided I was going to start working on my own guitars. And for instance, I know they've come up with better tools to use than this steel wool, but I bought this steel wool 20 years ago, somewhere about there. It's a, I don't know, triple-aught, quadruple-aught. My point here is, you know, when you get started, you get some tools. You know, here's some tools I had that I just started, you know, machinist ruler. I mean, I've had these tools since I first started working on guitars, you know, and people ask me, why don't you get this new stuff? Well, the old stuff I have that I own still works, and I'm not in the market to go buy things that I don't need when what I have is works. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start scraping these things here off, and then you won't have to watch me do that. When we get done, I'll oil the neck and we'll restring her, and we'll call that guy up, and he's going to be excited about getting his guitar, I know. Let's get at it. So yeah, if you don't have one of these things here, you can get these also at one of those dollar stores for $1. And it's just a great way to kind of clean up after your job a little bit. Alright, I'm gonna look at each one of these and make sure they look really clean. And if not, I'm gonna take just a little bit more steel wool. But you can see that is just much better than what it was before. Goodbye green. All the green is gone. Alright, let's move on. So yeah, here's another little trick I do. And I don't know, some people may criticize me for it or not. You can get this. Once again, I bought this about 20 years ago. It's just graphite. I dump a little bit down in here. I've had this toothpick obviously for about 20 years. And then I'll just take it and then I'll dab a little bit of it right here. And we'll also put a little bit of it down here in these saddles. And again, that's something, you buy it one time, it lasts you your whole career. Probably the most rewarding thing I get to do is apply the lemon oil. There's all kinds of stuff you can buy for this. Again, I bought this 20 years ago. You know, the label's gone. But I've oiled down bunches of necks with it. It's never let me down. I just always find that very rewarding. The neck is just gonna glisten here by the time we get done. Always make sure you get right around, this heel here, down here. That's a place I've noticed the guitars like to crack at. But I'm gonna just put it on there. We'll let her set for, I don't know, a minute, and then we'll wipe it off. We're going to restring this thing and call my buddy up and tell him, come and get your guitar. Yeah, that's really nice. We've oiled the neck, polished all those frets up. I think the last thing to do is string it. That's right. He gave me GHS boomers. I'm not affiliated with them, not sponsored. That's what I always play on my electric guitars. Let's get them on. I'm not a bass player, but here's what I've always done. I always go 1, 2.5 up. I'll cut it right in there. Then I'll just stick it in the peg head and roll it up. While we're talking about tools that we bought a long time ago, here's a chord tuner, a GA20. I bought it probably 25 years ago. It still works. And I use it out here on the bench to rough in, you know, to rough in the intonation. And you know, if you don't know, I'll just explain it to you. You'll hit the note open and then hit it at the 12th fret. And if it's a little flat, you need to move this that way. And if it's a little high, you need to move it that way. So whatever direction the light lights up is the way you need to go. And if it's right on, And you know, like I said, when we got this thing out of the box, I thought it was set up pretty good. Well, I'll tell you what, this was quite a job. It took most of the day. Well, hey, thanks a lot for hanging out with me today. I really enjoyed working on this. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me and, you know, looking at this beautiful old made in Japan Fender 1986 or 87 precision bass. I believe this was probably the first year that Fender took it back, you know. Let's see if I can get mobile here. Yeah, I think this is the first year that CBS no longer had control. I really believe that these parts probably came from USA and were shipped over to Japan to be assembled. Because I think they got the parts, they got the name, the trademark. They just didn't have the machines in the factory, so they had to build a factory in Mexico, and they already had an arrangement in Japan. And so I think they just used that factory to make their guitars for a while. A lot of those early Squires came out of Japan. They were really nice. I've seen Tellys and Strats alike out of Japan at this time. Highly sought after. I don't know what my buddy paid for it. I'd say he got a good deal though. Well, as always, thanks a lot for hanging out with me today, and I really hope you had as much fun with this as I did. If this is the kind of thing you're interested in doing, you know, jump in there. If it's not, take it to your Luther, or take it to your local music shop. They'd be happy to work on it for you. But in the meantime, my friends, as always, rock on.